Hi, I'm Zoe Morsette, and I'm a prop and effects builder and specialty costume builder for Broadway television and film. Back in 2003, I was having a medical issue and went to my doctor. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew something was. So they did some tests, and they saw something inside that they said had to come out. They weren't sure what it was. It possibly could be cancer, but not necessarily. So I never actually had a diagnosis. I woke up and had had extensive surgery and then was told that I had cancer. Very rare genetic cancer, fallopian tube. I was left with the prospect of not being able to work for 4 months while I healed and went through chemotherapy. Because of the surgery, I couldn't lift anything, and my work is very physical, and my doctor said absolutely not. So I was sort of stuck, between a rock and a hard place, like what am I going to do now? The prospect of 4 months of no work and no income whatsoever was kind of daunting. I was talking to Jan Kassendick, who works for Parsons Mears Costume Shop, one of the big Broadway shops. And she said, well, why don't you call your friends at Broadway Cares? And she said, I'm sure they could give you a referral to the Actors Fund. And I said, but I haven't acted in years or danced. And she said, it's okay, they help everyone in the theater. It wasn't like going into a doctor's office, and I've been in many of those. They just made you feel very, very comfortable, almost like you were a friend. For someone who's never had help before from an organization, it was very hard to ask for help, and they made it very easy. They said, we know that everyone who works in the theater at some point will have financial difficulty, because that's just the nature of the business. So we were expecting you. If the Actors Fund hadn't been there for me, I'm really not sure what I would have done, because I physically couldn't work, which means I couldn't, get the funding to pay my rent, to pay my health insurance, which I was very afraid of losing, because they will cut you off immediately if you miss a payment. And once you've had a cancer diagnosis, you absolutely cannot afford to lose your coverage. And after chemotherapy, you also don't want to be on the street. It was the Actors Fund who not only helped me pay for some of that rent and insurance, but they referred me to several other organizations that I knew nothing about. Cancer Care, who helps pay for transportation to chemotherapy sessions, and the Episcopal Actors Guild, who also helped me with rent and insurance, and Gilda's Club, which is a support organization for cancer patients and their families. For people in the profession, they're absolutely essential. You try to be careful, you try to save your money, et cetera, like I said, but sometimes, a traumatic event happens. I really don't know what I would have done without the Actors Fund.